I've been watching and listening to the whole debate thing with Aron Ra and Kent Hovind, and they go back and forth. Well, okay, it's more like they just go. You've got one side that argues on behalf of faith, belief, and an unyielding ability to be steadfast in the philosophy that they hold despite zero training, zero research, zero observation of any form, versus one who does the complete opposite. They use not just observation, but research, understanding, the ability to understand that they may have made an error and then learn from it and find better information. Now, I honestly shouldn't have to tell you which one is doing which. But on the parts that bother me, the first and foremost, the one thing that bothered everyone was, Aron Ra, why are you wasting your time debating this guy? Why are you going back and forth? And Aron Ra, hey, he said, I've been waiting for a long time to do this, to sink my teeth into him. And, I just want to have my fun. And besides, he explained he isn't trying to convince him or of anything, change his mind by any measure. What he's doing is talking to those that still listen to him, those that will listen and watch his videos. He said that's his targeted audience, and I was like, okay, fair enough. He says he has a, see, this is when you have to use belief. Aron Ra has a belief that those that listen to Kent Hovind are still salvageable. And so he's, being highly educated in, and I'm going to say extremely professor-like in his delivery of information, Aron Ra being that. Kent Hovind, I've noticed, is basically, how can I pick on you and insult you and disrespect you in every given way, which has basically broken Aron Ra into doing the same thing, except on a more intelligible level. When it comes to the debate, the whole debate seems to be about, it's creationism versus evolution. And that's what I don't understand, because say I didn't know anything of either side. So all of this was created. There was some magical creator or something, versus this all came together and slowly but surely adapted and whatnot. Which one would I believe? That's where I would fail myself, because if you have to believe it, then that means you have nothing to prove it. And if you can't prove it, why even think about it? So that's just me. If you listen to How I Became an Atheist, you can say I couldn't go on belief. I had to go on what was right in front of me. And it's weird. Just going on truth and honesty. The major parts of their battle is the major part of why Kent Hovind fails. And nobody understands that has religious faith. And Kent Hovind and people like that, and G-Man, and Josh Feuerstein, and all these other, Pat Robertson and stuff, they heard something at some point about evolution, where they must have heard this animal millions of years ago became this animal. So whereas you've got something that walks on all fours, a tail, elongated head, and over time takes to the water, and over time, really, considering there's more life in the water than on land at that time, keeps going back to the water and swims more and reproduces and adapts to the changing environment over millions of years, loses the legs, grows the tail, longer, the head robust over millions of years and generations, and reproduction and adaptation and diet and need and necessity and survival turns, over that multi-million millennia and whatnot becomes the modern whale. And that's just one of trillions of, evolutionary situations. Just like us from the ape, the primate, to today, with multiple branches of various kinds of Homo erecti and whatnot. So when you get this and you hear someone in religion talk about it, it's always this: how do you get a dog to become a non-dog? It's like, what? The first time I heard that, I was really stunned. I admit, if I was in a debate and I heard someone say, okay then, all right, Cedric, how do you get a dog to become a non-dog in evolution? I'd be like, wait, what? Yeah, how do you get a dog to become a non-dog? How do you get a dog to turn into a cat? How do you get a dog to turn into a tree? I'm like, this isn't magic. This is evolution. What are you talking? I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I know you're talking about evolution, but what the fuck in evolution are you talking about? That's not, where do you get that? Explain it to me. I'm going to stand here and listen. And then they would cite something about Darwin and others that say this turns into a non-this. And I'd be like, no, it's not a transformer. It don't be a car turned into a bipedal artificial intelligent being made of metal. It don't work that way. But they would keep saying it. Aron Ra, he explains how over time there are micro changes, microevolution, little subtle changes here and there to adapt to diet, climate, environment, and whatnot. So you get a raptor that turns into a chicken and things like that, or the common bird of any variation. There are lots of things. But even though he explains it, and he explains that there's micro changes where snakes had legs, but then they sort of just, they went away because they barely used them. What's the point? And then Kent Hovind is still, they will say, well, okay, how do you get a lizard to become a non-lizard? How do you get this to become a non-that? It's like, what? It's like, well, are trees and elephants related? And it's like, no, are they the same thing? And while Aron Ra, I think he's calling him a Eukaryote or something like that. I'm probably butchering the word, but you understand, it's a genome type that they are a part of, though they're not the same thing. Like, we have 80% in common with the banana. We have, in chromosome wise, we are like 1 or 2 off from any chimpanzee, monkey, or ape. We share a lot in terms of chromosomes. The chromosome being off by 1 or 2 or 3 is what gets so many various differences. And yet religious people will keep saying, well, how do you get a dog to become a non-dog? And that's just mind-boggling. No, not mind-boggling, mind-bottling. Because that's just put it somewhere and just put a cork in it, because you can't deal with it. You just can't. And that's the big issue. When you listen to every single one of their little back and forth debate in the way that Kent Hovind demanded and wanted, and everything that he has to say and everything that he tries to exploit, Aron Ra is just going out saying, hey, here's the research, here's the peer reviews, here's all the clades, and there are no kinds, because kinds is segregation. You're this kind of person. Your kind is black, your kind is white, your kind is Asian, your kind is Mexican. Your kind is a dog, your kind is a cat. And that's why you have kinds. Granted, the word kinds obviously had different origins, but how they're used today is just plain segregation. And they don't realize that's really what they're doing. this kind of bird, this kind of horse. It's all about kinds because they can't imagine. They can't. It would destroy them to understand there are no kinds and that we're all linked. We are all linked, from the cockroach to the tree to the very soil that we don't care about. We are all linked. It is. It's so subtle. And the Big Bang, they will also talk about the Big Bang having to do with evolution, and it doesn't. The Big Bang is a model. That's all it is. The Big Bang is a model. And originally, it was a big explosion, and then we have everything, which really coincided with religion and God just saying, poof, there's everything. It's one in one. Just one was science and could back up that through this, other things happen, where they're just like, nah, man, it's just, there you go. It's here. It's all here. Piff. But to think that there was some kind of cosmic explosion, something, no matter how small, and that created more explosions and more gas and more that spiraled away, forming its own little nexus, its own little colonies of matter and galaxies that form. You can't have a galaxy without a mass cluster of solar systems. And in that solar system, just one, where there's a white sun that spawns all this dust that just gravitates into these little hunks of rock that gravitates into these planets. And all of this heat from colliding meteors and asteroids and comets onto these rock surfaces. And when it's done and there's no more junk to gather, and it slowly but surely cools, and whatever moisture's in there is squeezed out due to the heat inside, and everything that happens on the surface just happens. And if trees happen to spawn, they happen to spawn. If these gases get released and all this other stuff happens in whatever order it takes, and life springs from that, I find that cool. And it seems that if religious people realize that that is where they came from, just random acts of astronomical proportions, it would kill them inside. That's the sad part. Because reality means that their belief isn't true. And they just want to believe. I don't have time for belief. I need the here and now, just like you. That's all I have to say. Sometimes comparative reasoning isn't what you think, but why you think it. This is Cedric Kennedy for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.